say I love you back right now, because I do love you, but. Welcome back to Walk the Talk. We're talking about words still, and I wanted to go on to our next question. So, question for you ladies. How do words affect relationships, platonic and romantic, in terms of what's said and what's unsaid?
I think that it's definitely a difference in platonic versus romantic relationships and how the words would affect me personally. Mm-hmm. If it's coming from somebody that's just a platonic friend, I think that I take their words a little bit less light. It's not something that I'm going to really take to heart. Or it just depends on how close I am with that person. Right. Versus if it's somebody from romance, like if it's my husband who says something, it doesn't matter what his intentions behind it. It doesn't matter how he tries to put what he says. I'm going to take it exactly for what it is. So I just think that with that, I take his words more seriously. I take them to heart. Mm-hmm. I will try and make changes depending upon the feedback that I may or may not get from him versus from a friend. You kind of like, is it really that important? Do I really feel like what you're saying is valid? Okay. So I think that it is a difference between it does have to do with the level of relationship. But overall, I think that it's wise to take consideration to what feedback people give you, what words people use to you, because most of the time you surround yourself with people that you are comfortable with, people that will know you. So whatever feedback, whatever type of words that they're using to you, then they typically have a meaning behind them. So overall, I would definitely take what somebody says kind of to heart. I think on all levels, I kind of take it to heart, but just how deeply do I discover, try and figure out what they really mean behind the words. Yeah.
I mean, I think with platonic relationships and also romantic relationships, I think sometimes what is unsaid can affect a relationship more than what is said. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying that because I have been in family situations or a situation with a family member, and they don't say what they need to say to that other person, and it festers and it turns into resentment, and then that turns into petty arguments, and then there are displaced emotions, and then it's just a constant cycle of them not arguing about what they actually need to argue about, but they're arguing about all these other things instead of just actually going on and addressing the elephant in the room. And so with that, I think unsaid words they foster broken relationships. And so although you want to spare someone's feelings, like whatever you have in your heart is going to come out. Like Kumbi, you talked about, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Mm-hmm. But whether you say it or not, it's still going to manifest itself, whether it be you being petty or you just kind of not being as giving to them. It's going to manifest itself even if you don't say it. Even if you don't say it. So I think that's how unsaid words,
they go a long way. Like even in terms of like appreciation, someone is given and they're doing one thing or the other, to bless your life in one way or the other, and then you just withhold saying words to appreciate them, you know? Yeah. So, it's definitely important. For me, it's like words can break or make a relationship. Definitely. You know what I'm saying? So people use words to start relationships. People use words to end relationships. I don't want to be with you no more. There's some words that say, keep it moving. You know what I'm saying? So words absolutely affect relationships. I think the level of relationship that you can have with a person, some of that is based on words, how they share, like transparency, how transparent are they with you, how transparent do you feel that you can be with them? Words are involved in that. Part of building intimacy involves words, so I feel like, it's definitely very tied into relationship. Something else I was thinking about, let's think about even relationships dying due to things like lies being spread or secrets being disclosed. Those are words involved, you know? So, you trust someone with information and they take it somewhere else, you know what I'm saying? So, words absolutely hold a big weight.
Yeah, I definitely agree because, you know, a lot of times we say things, you can say things out of anger, you know, and you really don't mean them. But again, like you said, those are the building blocks of a relationship. So, and again, you know, the whole thing of putting the egg back together, once you've said those things, then it's hard to go back. So when you have a relationship with someone and it's something that you built over even years, but in a day, in a moment, in a couple of words, you can ruin that relationship with just a couple of words, and you can't go back and change that. So that's why I think that it's really important that you are wise in choosing your words in building relationships, because it doesn't matter if it's been 10 to 15 years, just a matter of words can change that easily. So you can't just speak what's on your mind all the time. You know, a lot of people are like, well, that's just how I am. But that's just
I'm
how
real,
they are.
you know?
Yeah, like you need to be mindful. You have to be cognizant of what are you saying. And even if it's something that the person needs to hear, it might not be the season for them to hear. They may not, you know, it's not for you to tell them that right now. You can't just, well, this is what, you know, you just can't pop off and do that to people. So you need to be, you have to have, it has to be in the constructs of a relationship, the timing, the way that you present it. You just have to be mindful of those things when it comes to relationships.
Another way that that words are important, when you speak to someone, right? If someone is saying something very, like, just nasty to you, like evil, especially like in family situations, your words have power. It says a quiet response turns away wrath, or a soft answer turns away wrath. So when someone is spewing like evil and poison at you, and you just respond to them in a loving way, it somehow it absorbs it. It absorbs it, and it says, nope, like, I'm gonna throw that right back to you, because that's where it belongs. So like, I'm not gonna have what you say change me just because you have bitterness and anger, you know, anger in your heart. So they are
hard to give a soft answer when you're in those situations and someone's just spewing, you know, because we all have tongues, right? So it's so hard to just, you know, take it and then, you know, say something kind back in response, or say something, you know, gentle. That's hard. But speaking of that, I had a situation, right? Again, when I was younger. No, real talk though. This was when I was younger. So I was in a group of friends, right? Let me not say all believers, but we all went to church. Okay, we all went to church, and there was a particular person in that group that just used to say all kinds of things out the side of her mouth, just reckless. Just used to talk to people any kind of way, talk to all of us as a group any kind of way, just nasty. And I remember coming into the group thinking, why y'all just sitting here taking this? Like, what's up with it? Like, I resented that so much. But I was like, this seems like this is the culture here. People just don't say anything back to her, you know. But I didn't like it. I think me not liking it, it took me to a place where just beyond just the basic level of nobody likes to be talked down to, right? It took me to a place where, because I grew up in an abusive environment, domestic abuse, you know, so it gave me that vibe of, you know, just that condescending, you know, verbal abuse that I experienced growing up. So whenever she would just talk reckless to people, to all of us, I just hated it so much. But I felt like, well, nobody's saying anything. I don't want to be the bad person who, you know, who confronts this, who says something, you know. So I just held it in. And like you said, you know, the resentment, it festered. So I got to the point where I actually, you know, just voiced it out in front of everybody and told her that she's nasty. And she, you know, like, but so she was saying ungracious words and talking us down, but then I responded. How did I respond? Not with gracious words, not with words that, you know, come from a loving place, because I had resentment over time, you know, of hearing her, and built up. And so instead of responding graciously and then, you know, just confronting the situation in a gracious manner out of a loving heart, out of a pretty heart, I didn't, because my heart wasn't pretty. I wanted to tear her down the way that she was tearing us down, and I just went back at her, and it caused conflict in the group. And it was just a hot mess. So yeah, I just remember that when you were speaking earlier. I was like, wait, not to. It's hard to respond. Yeah.
We have
lovingly, you know. But now, if I could go back in time, honestly, I would like respond just one, I wouldn't have allowed it to go on so long. And then two, the way that I would have come at her would have been completely different. Just, just be a little bit more gracious and kind and see what's going on with her.
Yeah. It's like having compassion towards people really has more effect than just being nasty back to them. I mean, you felt good in the moment that you were telling her off, but like, where's the growth in that? Like, did she really grow, or did she just grow to resent you? Or were her feelings just hurt? And I'm not saying, obviously, you can't go back and past, because I had my fair share of telling people off too, and making people cry and stuff like that. And people need compassion. You know what I mean? People need compassion. And the fact that she was acting out like that lets me know that there's a lot of things that are going on internally inside of her.
She was going through her own, issues. So but I was.
But but you were tired of it. I get it.
and I knew I did know some of the issues that she was going through, but I was so resentful that I was like, look, we all got issues. You're not gonna come out here, just talking out the side of your neck to us. And, so. Yeah.
And even picking up with what you said, a lot of people were kind of just letting it go. They weren't saying anything. It just made me think about people who don't use words, who shut down. And so how detrimental that can be to a relationship. Because if you're in a relationship with somebody and anytime they get upset with you or anytime you want to have a heart-to-heart, they just shut down and they don't respond at all. And so that's also a way of trying to get the upper hand on someone. I just won't speak to you. Especially like, like, I'm not speaking to you. It doesn't matter what you say. I'm not going to respond to you in any kind of way. That's also speaking to a person, but you're just not using your words. So you can be demoralizing that person. You can have this person feeling
silent treatment.
Yeah, all different types of ways because you want to give the silent treatment to them. And so that can be detrimental, just as if you were using words as well to a relationship. You just don't know. So
there's no growth in the silent treatment. Like neither one of you is growing. You're just being prideful and resentful and honoring. Like you're just you don't have the tools to communicate how you feel to someone, so you rather just make them feel horrible. Like you just make them feel like they're not important in your life. And so it's manipulative. That's really what it is. And those are the things that people that's what they look to. Those are the things that people start doing when they don't do the internal work of understanding how they feel. They just hold it inside and they end up blowing up one day. You know what I mean? They end up blowing up. And this person's like, where did all this come from? I've had years and years and years to build all this up. So, but they're super important. I'm thinking of like children. Like I don't have any children, but I know you do, Kumbi. And just like my biggest fear is just like saying something wrong to them, because you never know what they're going to latch on to, right? You never know what they're going to latch on to. So it's just like, even with children, like sometimes you have to treat people like children. You never know what that thing is that's really going to tear a person down. Like you really don't know. It may not be a big deal to you, but it may be a big deal to them. And that's why it's important to really get to know people and understand their insecurities and understand the things that they're going through. Not to coddle them, but just to kind of be able to communicate better. And communicate to them better.
I think about just how the enemy can use us against each other in our lives, even through our words, if his goal is to tear us down, and he knows that God loves relationship, loves, unity, you know what I'm saying? He's gonna try to use our words to do that. So that's why it's all the more important for us to, be cautious about, okay, what's coming out of my mouth, and how is it coming? And then on the other end, on the receiving end, remembering that we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. You know what I'm saying? We wrestle against principalities and powers. So even when people are saying things that are hurtful, like the situation I explained earlier with the, you're wearing rags story, remembering that that's the enemy trying to tear me down through her. Exactly. She's not my enemy. You know what I'm saying? So just keeping that in perspective, I think is also important.
But I still can't get over that she said that. Like, it's just, that is crazy. Like, how are you going to say that to someone?
People are wild.
Like, like people are just
thank God for Jesus.
Yeah,
I'm so glad you're a Libra.
Right? I'm sorry. She's like, how dare you say that to someone? But it just goes to show what's in people's hearts, and we're all capable of it, right?
Yeah.
We're all capable. I know I'm capable of doing something like that.
Man, I've used my words recklessly too in the past. So,
Yeah.
And even today, I still have to caution myself when I'm angry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And not giving the silent treatment, but to be honest with you, when I'm upset with my husband, I have to take my time.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot speak while I'm upset, because while I'm upset, it's just the negative is what's going to come out. So I need him to give me some time, give me some space, Sometimes even after, we've had, I shouldn't say we've had a conversation, because it might be like a situation where he's apologizing about something that he knows he did that, I didn't like. And he's wanting a response back, and I'm still heated in that anger, so I can't even say, I received that right now. Like, I need just a moment. Don't hug me right now. Don't require me to say I love you back right now, because I do love you, but right now I want to smack you upside your head. So,
so you gotta smack you. Or you give me some space.
So it's just for me, at the level that I'm at right now in my emotional maturity and spiritual maturity, I just need that room to cool. And I don't think that should last hours or days or I don't think we should give room for that space to continue to grow. So but in the moment, I know that it's really difficult for me to just say, okay, let's be buddies.
And I think that's wisdom, like to be able to say, like, this is how I process my emotions. Like, this is how I need this space in order to understand how I feel. Because how I feel in my flesh right now wants to tell you, wants to smack you upside.
She's gonna use those words to get to come down.
It's like, so I think that's wisdom. It's just when it changes into, I'm going to use this silent treatment to manipulate.
It's
like
punishing. That's punishing. I don't want to punish.
And that's a little different. That's a little different than what you're doing. But everyone has to take their time. It's just that, process your emotions, but like, don't let the sun go down on your anger. Like, don't, because when it goes down, like, Satan has all this time.
And he'll put this thought. Now, remember when he did that?
Right.
Remember that? Yeah. You start counting that. Like, no.
You have like your little mental list.
Don't give room for that.
So, keep track of room. But I mean, he's very efficient. So it's just like,
and it's so wild, because in those moments when you're counting the wrong, you tend to like not remember your wrong as much. Like, how about the times that you didn't measure up? You didn't, So
it humbles you. Because as many times as you're tallying up everything that person did wrong, you probably did twice as much.
Right.
And hopefully they're not they're probably not tallying up. But we all do wrong towards other people, and we just have to be forgiven, but we also have to be responsible in those wrongs.
Right.
Exactly.
No one to go back and ask for forgiveness if you have some.
Right. Seriously that, but there are some thoughts that really don't need to be shared with the whole world.
Wanting to be in control, wanting things to go the way you want, not wanting to come out and just say, I'm sorry, I was wrong.
You live in a culture where it's like, oh, you're toxic, cut you off. Oh, you didn't say the right thing to me, cut you off.